ladies and gentlemen, to our last lesson on Unit 8. Continuing with circles and areas, page 340, lesson 8.4, 340, 341, using formulas to find areas of composite figures. Our essential question, how can you find the area of a composite figure? Well, you're going to know that answer right away. You know that answer right away because you were asked to take notes from the top of page 340 on how to find an area of composite figures. And, well, there was just one sentence up there. And that says, hey, separate the composite figure into shapes that we know. Separate them into shapes that we know, and then find the areas of those shapes, and then add them together. We're going to start off, though, by using grid paper to find some area. And right here we have two examples in number 1. And the first one is this green arrow. And all we have to do is actually count up the square units, because area is in square units. Each square helps us find the area. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 full squares. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 half squares. So that's 12 plus 4, which is 16 units squared for the area of that arrow. Moving on to this other one. Wow, this one's really straightforward. All we have to do is count the square units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. This one is equal to 20 units. Whoops, not units, units squared. 20 units squared. Man, once again, Mr. Ross shows you he is not perfect. Look at that. I'm talking in third person and first person all at the same time. Wow, I guess that's our English lesson for the night. Moving right along, let's find the area of this composite figure. And ladies and gentlemen, sometimes they help us out and they divide it up for us. They draw a line and they say, hey, here's two shapes that make up this composite figure. I'm going to give you some advice. Number them. Number them as you divide them up, and then find the area of the shapes that you numbered and add them all together. Let's start off with the first one. A basic rectangle. Okay? The only problem is now we have to look and we have to figure out what are the units of the rectangle. We know that a rectangle is base times height. So let's see, well, we got one unit, that's 4. And then we need to get this length up here, which down at the bottom is 8. Subtracting the 2 tells me this is 6. So 4 times 6, that's 24. And then going to my second one, I have, well, they just give it to me right away. That's 3 times 8, and that gives me another 24. Add them up and get a total of 48 units. Not units anymore. They tell us what the units is. That's 48 inches squared for that composite figure. Moving right along, finding the area of this figure. Once again, they've helped us out. They've made the shapes for us, so I'm just going to number them, and now we're going to find them. Well, number 1, that's the semicircle. We just learned about that. So number 1 is going to be pi times the radius squared divided by 2. And that would be 3.14 times the radius. Well, let's see, the dotted line would be the diameter, and that's the same length as down here. So my radius is 6 divided by 2, which is 3. So times 3 squared divided by 2, that's 3.14 times 9 divided by 2. And when I do that math, I end up getting 100. I get 14.13. If I got 100, I would hopefully recognize that that's not a reasonable answer. It is 14.13. And so then I do my second shape, which happens to be a rectangle. And they gave us the units right away. That's 4 times 6 for 24. So I come over here and I add 24. And I get a total of, that's right, 38.13. And we have feet, and it's squared. Nice. Moving right along. Wow. Here's an interesting looking shape. And once again, they helped us out. We see that there are 2 triangles and a rectangle. So I have shape 1. I have shape 2, and I have shape 3. It doesn't matter how you number them, as long as you get them all numbered. It just helps you, making sure you have them all when you're composite figures so you can add them all together and get the total. So let's start off with 1. That is a triangle, and a triangle is base times height divided by 2. So the base of that triangle is 7. the height of that triangle, that's the dotted line, which is the same as the side across, that's 24. Dividing by 2, that's 7 times 12, which is 84. All right? Let's go to shape 2. That's another triangle. So the base of that is 5 times the height, again, straight across, because that 12 and that dotted line is the same. 12 divided by 2, that is 5 times 6 divided by, that's 5 times 6, I'm sorry, which is 30. All right. And then we have the last one, which is just a basic rectangle. So I have 24 times 12, and 24 times 12 is 288. Add all those together to give me the total area of 402, and we have feet, and of course it's squared because we're talking area. Moving right along. Find the area of this figure. Okay, well this figure they didn't quite tell us what the shapes were. We can look, and sometimes looking at the measurements that are given will help us decide what shapes we want to turn it into. Some people might see a triangle and a rectangle or two. I don't. The reason I don't is because I don't have any way of, well, I guess I could do that. I could have done that. But I don't want to, because that's 3 shapes. I'm going to break it up into 2 shapes. I'm going to break it up into a trapezoid and a rectangle. There's 2 ways I can break it up into a rectangle and a trapezoid. 2 ways. Let's go this way. So we have shape 1 up here and shape 2 down here. Had I drawn the line this way, I would have had a bigger rectangle and a smaller trapezoid. But I chose to do it a different way. So let's just go with that. All right? So let's go back to shape number 1. It is a small rectangular looking thing. And I can see right here, it is 6 times 5, which gives me 30 inches squared. I go to shape number 2. It is a trapezoid. And we have to remember that with a trapezoid, you take the height, multiply it by base 1 plus the base 2, and divide that by 2. Or multiply by a half, however you want to look at it. And so, let's see. I know that the length of base 1 is right here. That's 7 plus 5, that's 12. I know that the second base is down here, that's 15. I'm adding those together. I'm multiplying by the height, which is this distance here, which is 10 minus 6, so this one right here is 4. And I'm dividing the whole thing by 2. And so I'm going to simplify that height and that 2 out and make a 2. 12 plus 15 is 27. Times 2 is 54. So now I have my 30 from my first shape plus my 54 from my second shape to get 84 inches squared as my total area. Moving right along, here we have another figure. Oh wow, it's a good thing we learned about sectors, huh? I've got one over here, and I've got one over here. I'm going to give it the same number, because I can decide and just have to multiply by 2. Or, if I have 2 sectors that make a semicircle, wow, I only have to do that once. Nice thinking. And then I have my second figure right there. So my first one is a semicircle, pi times the radius squared divided by 2, because I'm taking this half and putting it together with this half to come up with, that's right, a semicircle when I put those 2 halves together. So I'm going to use 3.14. It's the easiest thing to use. I could use 22/7. However, once again, we'd have a fraction in a fraction, and we don't like to do that. The radius is going to be 7, and I'm going to divide that by 2 because I want to cut it in half. And so then I would have 3.14 times 49 divided by 2. And when I do that math, 3.14 times 29 divided by 2, I get 76.93 for my semicircle, my 2 sectors on the end of that rectangle. And my rectangle is nothing more than 8 times 7 for 56. Yeah. So when I add these 2 together, I get a whopping total of 132.9 centimeters, and we're going to take that squared for the area of that shape. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that ends our first quick write. Here, our first video. Here's your quick write, and that is a shape that you need to draw. Label it very quickly. Decide how you're going to divide it up, and then find the area of that shape. It looks like it's already divided up to me. Anyway, take a quick break, grab something to drink, come back with that great attitude and effort to finish off your second video tonight, and of course we'll talk about it tomorrow. I'll see you in just a few minutes.